Mr. Simpson, does the number area code 714-955-9318 mean anything to you as of June 13th, 1994?
Say that again.
714-955-9318.
No.
Okay, do you recall dialing that number at any time on the 13th?
I don't recall, no.
Okay.
It's from the cellular phone.
Does the number area code 818-362-5643 mean anything to you as of June 13th, 1994? 362-5643.
No.
Okay. And you, at this time, as of June 13th, 1994, had no idea who had the Simpson Enterprises cellular phone?
If mine was under Simpson Enterprises, it would have been my phone.
Okay, but you didn't have more than one cellular phone with you, did you?
No.
Okay.
And as I said, Kathy had a phone, but it was a car phone.
Do you know what the number was of that car?
I don't recall.
Was it in the name of Simpson Enterprises, the car phone?
Yes.
Okay.
You already asked that question, Dan. You didn't miss it.
I didn't think so. I was starting to worry, Mr. Baker.
Don't be concerned.
Who knows?
I thought I had redefined tedium.
Listen. See, these guys are shopping for a soundbite on tedium today when they're out of the loop.
John, the truth is in the details. So keep going.
Somebody
I've heard
said
that.
that even before you did.
You did?
No, I said somebody said that even before you did. He was a philosopher, I thought.
I made it out.
What about the number with area code 310-281-7804? 310-281-7804.
I don't know.
Okay. By the way, did you have a little phone book or something with you on that flight coming back from Chicago?
I had my phone book, I believe, yes.
Okay, where's that phone book now, if you know?
I think LAPD has it.
Okay. Who's Stuart Blaznik?
I don't know.
Never heard of him?
No.
Okay. Just take 1 minute.
We're gonna wrap it up for lunch, huh?
What about these phone calls? I'll try to.
About everything. I mean,
Baker, I wouldn't want you to have free time in your hands.
that may be truer than you know.
Oh, my mind is wandering already.
Isn't Stuart Blaznik the guy running against Garcetti? Isn't it? I think that's who that is.
Who's Stuart Blaznik?
Yeah.
Who is it? I'm sorry, I didn't.
The guy running against Garcetti, isn't it?
Probably. That'd probably be the first call you made. Did you have occasion to go to your office the night of the 13th?
No.
What
the
about
night? No.
the night of the 14th?
The day of the 14th.
Day of the 14th. Did you make any calls from there when you were there that day? Do you?
Did I make any?
Yeah.
No.
And on the 13th, you were not in your office at all?
13, yes.
In the evening?
But, yeah, I guess early afternoon.
Do you recall being there at about 6:45 that evening?
No.
Did you give anybody access to that office?
Whoever always have access to it.
And who's that? Kathy?
Kathy, the cleaning crew, whatever.
Okay. And the number 818-362-5643 means nothing to you?
Nothing to me, no.
Okay.
Could be Kathy's mother. I don't know. That's a guess. So.
Mr. Simpson, Nicole left you on January 6, 1992, is that correct?
She asked for a separation then, yes.
Okay. Prior to January 6, 1992, would you talk to her mother, Judy Brown, on a regular basis?
Semi-regular, not a hell of a lot, but yes, I talked to her. Yes.
Okay. Would you call her of your own initiative on occasion prior to January 6, 1994?
Yes.
Would that happen more than once a month?
I don't know. Depends what was going on with Nicole and I.
Okay. Do you recall after January 6, 1992, you began to call her more frequently?
All the time.
You'd call her all the time?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, there were days where you'd speak to her every day, would you not?
Days when he'd speak to her every day? That's pretty good. That's a Kelly question.
I hope it's a soundbite. I mean, I've been polishing that up for a couple days now.
You want to rephrase that?
Yes, I will, Mr. Baker. Did you speak to her almost every day between January 6, 1992 and between October 15th, 1992 when your divorce became final?
No, but if you shorten that period, I spoke to her a heck of a lot, and more than one time a day, till about May or June, and then it curtailed.
Okay. And were there some times that you called Judy Brown 3 or 4 times a day?
As I said, sometimes I call her often during the day, yes.
Okay. Were there ever occasions you may have called her even 10 times a day?
I don't think so, but I talk to her often, yes.
Okay. And would you call there ever to discuss Nicole with her?
The majority of the time.
Okay. Were there ever times you called there looking for Nicole?
No.
Never?
No.
Okay. Were there ever times you called there to speak to Nicole?
Well, I can say never. I called her looking for my kids once when I was in Houston, I believe. When I was in Houston, I believe. But, you know, I was talking to Nicole, so I pretty much, whenever I called, if Nicole was around and the kids were around, I talked to her. If it was a weekend and I called, if I was on the road and I called home and they weren't there, I'd call Laguna to see if they're in Laguna, yes.
Okay. Was it? Oh. But there was never a time you called the Browns' residence to speak to Nicole other than when it concerned the kids?
Yeah, yeah. If they were not around for a weekend and I was out of town and I called and they weren't at her house, sometimes she would leave a message. She was in Laguna, and I would call Judy. Sometimes they didn't leave a message, but if I'd call a day or two and couldn't get her at her house, I would see if they were in Laguna.
Okay. Did you ever call Judy wanting to know where Nicole was?
On a weekend or so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you ever call Judy wanting to know whether Nicole was out with her friends dancing or partying at all?
No.
And you'd never call to ask Judy if Nicole was out doing anything in particular in the evenings?
No.
Okay. Did you ever
Nicole wasn't in Laguna too often. I think she was in Laguna during the summer, maybe. And by then, her and I had totally gone our separate ways.
Okay, but prior to that, you never recall calling down there and looking for Nicole when she was out?
No. Looking for the kids or her if they were in Laguna, but not looking for her if she was out, no.
And not looking to see what she was doing?
No.
Okay. Do you remember calling Judy Brown during the same time period, January to, say, June of 1992, from your cellular phone?
Oh, I'm sure I did, yes.
Yeah. And would that be the cellular phone you'd have in the car with you also?
Yes.
Do you recall ever calling Judy Brown from outside Nicole's house on Gretna Green when you were in the car?
I believe I've talked to her numerous times going to or coming from Nicole's house, so there may have been a time or two that I was arriving at Nicole's house and we're cutting off the conversation, or I had just left Nicole's house. So that could have happened, yes.
Were there ever times you went to Nicole's house and never even went to the door and parked out front and called Judy Brown?
No.
Never happened?
Never happened.
Okay. Would you be able to approximate the number of times you called Judy Brown between January 6, 1994 and, say, mid-June 1994?
No, it'd be a lot, but I couldn't approximate it, no.
Would it be fair to say it'd be more than 100?
I don't know.
Oh, we're talking a 6-month period.
I don't know.
Would it be fair to say it was more than several hundred phone calls?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, 1992.
We're talking 92,
Yeah.
yes.
The question was 94.
I don't know. I know I talked to Judy a lot. She was,
All right, let's go back. Let's go back.
all of this is
He,
94.
wait a minute, Juice.
Okay.
Let's go back. He asked you 1994. Mr. Petrocelli said 1992. You said 1992. Why don't we go back and redo these questions and get a straight answer, or get what his recollection was if he has one?
Okay, we've been talking about this time period where you made a lot of phone calls to Judy Brown, correct?
Yes, yes.
And was this the period between January 6, 1992 and June 1992?
Yeah, roughly in that period, yes.
Okay. And after, in the conversation we just had about going to or leaving Gretna Green and calling her on the cellular phone, we're talking about the same period in 1992, is that correct?
Yeah, quite often if I left my office or if I was going to Nicole's, I'd talk to Judy, and, you know, because I arrived, it would cut the conversation off, or vice versa.
Okay. After June of 1992, did you continue to call Judy Brown at all?
Occasionally. You know, I was still going through the divorce, and a couple of things came up from time to time, and I would talk to her occasionally, yes.
Would you call her concerning Nicole?
Well, but at that point, I didn't want to get back with Nicole. We had kind of moved on, but you know, you get used to talking to somebody. You talk. A lot of times it was about what was going on in the Browns family or in my family, and obviously Nicole would come up from time to time in those conversations.
But that wasn't the purpose of the phone calls?
No, it was just, it was almost habit at that point in time. But then, as I said, after June, it kind of cut back because I was in another relationship.
By the way, did you have a speed dial apparatus on your cellular phone?
Sorry, did you have a what?
Speed dial apparatus on your cellular phone.
I don't know.
Okay, what about your home phone?
I don't know.
Okay. Between June of 1992 and March of 1993, did you ever call Judy Brown looking for Nicole?
June. When I came back from, I don't know, maybe in August, you know, I mean, I'm always looking for the kids. When you say looking for Nicole, you make it looking for Nicole. Nicole
Right.
was always with my kids. So I'd be looking for my kids. So there is a possibility that during the summer, that fall, I was at the Olympics. I don't know if I called Judy from the Olympics at some point because I couldn't get Nicole then to find out where they were. I mean, that could have been a time or so I may have called saying, is Nicole or the kids around? That could have been, that could have happened.
Okay. Between January and June of 1992, do you remember calling the Browns and speaking to Lou Brown at all concerning Nicole?
Not much, no. I
Okay,
mean,
what-
Lou answered the phone. We did our pleasantries, and but basically, I talked to Judy,
Okay. Not Denise?
not Denise. No,
Not-
one conversation I had with Denise once, but basically it was with Judy.
When was that?
It was sometime when I had gotten word from my lawyers that there may be some allegations of abuse or battery. This was during the point that they were trying to get rid of my prenuptial agreement.
Okay, and you called Denise specifically?
I talked to Judy and I wanted to speak to Denise, and then Denise came on the phone.
And did you speak to her?
Yes.
And do you recall the substance of the conversation?
Yes.
What was that?
I mentioned to Denise that Nicole might have been claiming that we had, I think it's a conversation Nicole and I had, I don't recall, about what Denise eventually changed her story on the stand and said, I pushed Nicole out of a door in '92, but at this particular time, Denise, her recollection was that it was Nicole that was the physical one, and I didn't do anything. That was her recollection at that time, so it was a little different than it turned out to be.
Was this I assume this was the incident in the early 80s you spoke of earlier where you got home with Denise, Ed McCabe, and Nicole to your residence at
Yes.
Rockingham?
Yes.
And when you say Nicole was physical, what did she do that night when you got back to Rockingham?
At some point, when I was at the staircase, she was hitting me, and I grabbed the banister, and I said, Denise, your sister is getting physical. And so I just held the banister with my back to her.
Okay. I think you had mentioned earlier something about pictures or...
Yeah, then at the bottom of the stairs, she slung off the pictures.
You showed the back of your hand. They were on a table?
Yeah, well, it may have been, I don't know how she did it. She just knocked off the pictures that were on the table, yes.
Was that after she had been kidding you when you were on the staircase?
Yes.
Okay, and did you do something she was sort of wrecking the house, wasn't she, Nicole?
No, it was the entry. She broke some pictures. She broke some pictures at the, no, I don't know if she threw them down. I guess maybe a frame may have cracked or something.
In your mind, was Nicole out of control at that point?
If you get any closer to him, Mr. Petrocelli, people will start talking.
Yes.
I'll be very sick if he gets any closer.
You
The
probably
way he's hacking away here.
I went to the doctor's last night. He said, I'm on the road to recovery.
You just don't
Boy.
think you are. Shall we break for lunch? Or what do you want to do? Do you want to go ahead or whatever you're doing?
That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Mr. Baker looks hungry.
I am hungry, as a matter of fact.
Standard kit number 1 of 1 and 9,
We can do that.
You know, Bob. Mr. Simpson, I believe right before we broke for lunch, we were discussing an incident at Rockingham in the early 80s where I think you'd indicated Nicole was a little bit out of control in your house after you'd gotten home one night with Denise Brown, Ed McCabe, yourself, and Nicole. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think you indicated at one point you were holding on to the stair railing and she was hitting you.
Yes.
And was it after that she went and did something with the photographs?
Yeah, as we got to the bottom of the stairs.
What did she do?
Just knocked them off the table that was there.
Okay. Was she yelling or anything at that point?
She may have been. I don't recall.
Okay. And where were Denise and Ed McCabe at this time?
I think Ed was standing in the doorway, and Denise was standing, she was inside the house, I know that, but we were all in the same area there.
Okay. And you didn't hit Nicole at that time, did
No,
you?
no.
You didn't push her or put her in a headlock?
No, I grabbed her arms at the door and put her outside the door.
Okay, how close was she to the door when you put her outside the door?
Well, we were just in my entry, so 3-4 feet maybe.
Okay. And you had no problem with just taking her by the shoulders and putting her outside the front door?
No.
Okay. She didn't push her way back inside?
No.
She didn't wrestle out of your grip?
No.
Didn't get away?
Get away.
She didn't try to come back in, did she?
No.
Okay. Now, going to Mother's Day of 1994, do you remember if any time after that date you called Judy Brown?
No.
You don't know?
I don't know, no.
Okay. Do you know at any time after May 22nd you called Judy Brown?
I don't recall.
Do you recall having any telephonic discussions with Judy Brown in May of 1994?
I know I did the earlier part of May when Nicole and I split because I was real concerned. And I may have talked to Judy about the pneumonia. I may have. I really don't recall, but I may have.
Well, when you say you talked to her about the split, do you recall the substance of that conversation at all?
I was concerned about whatever was going on in Nicole's life.
Okay, was this would have been after Mother's Day then?
I believe so.
Do you recall whether it was a long conversation or relatively brief?
I don't recall. It could have been long, though. I mean, we talked. Judy had a lot of concerns, too. And when Judy and I talked, you know, the substance may have started about Nicole, but then you end up talking about family and kids and everything. You know, you end up just having family conversation.
Okay. Is it your impression she likes to talk a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And
I'm
you?
sure you found
OJ
that out.
doesn't, though.
I know, I was going to say.
Yeah.
She found a good listener, right?
No, Judy's a conversationalist. She's very social verbally, and so am I.
Okay. Regarding Faye Resnick, do you recall whether you used any names other than your own when you called her house to speak to her?
No.
When someone else would answer the phone, you never used any code names or anything?
Only other person that lived with her was Christian, and if I called to speak to Christian, it was me. Yeah.
Any children in the house?
She has a little girl.
Know how old she is?
Sydney's age, I believe, so she may be around 10.
Do you know whether or not Faye's little girl, was friends with Sydney?
When I say friends, you know, if Nicole and Faye were together, then she would be around. She wasn't one of the. It was. You know, I rarely saw her unless Faye was around. She wasn't someone who Sydney and her would play together all the time. She was a girl that was around if Faye was around.
Okay, so
At least when I was around.
so Faye's daughter was more or less incidental to the friendship between Faye and Nicole.
Yes.
On the other hand, with regard to Cora and Nicole, Sydney and Cora's daughters were very good friends.
Very good friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 1994, in fact, we'll say May 1994, did you ever call Faye Resnick to discuss Nicole?
In May,
May.
I don't recall. I know Faye had a few conversations with me telling me that Nicole was in love with me and I was back with Paula. That came up a few times. I know when I was, I know in May, I don't know, I don't recall.
Well, in April 1994.
Did you get that, David? Did you get the conversation of Mr. Petrocelli kind of coaching?
I'm not coaching.
No, he's hardly coaching Mr. Baker, although you'd like the record to reflect, perhaps. Hardly coaching. Do you recall making any calls in April 1994 to Faye Resnick?
Sensitive there, aren't you, John?
Very.
I apologize. He wasn't coaching.
Thank you. I feel much better. In April 1994, do you recall making any calls to Faye Resnick to discuss Nicole?
Yes.
Do you know on how many occasions?
No.
Okay. And do you recall where you were when you called her?
Probably in my hotel room.
In Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether you called her more than once?
Yes, more than once.
Do you know whether you called her more than twice?
The problem being, sometimes I would call to talk to Christian, and Faye and I would end up talking,
Okay.
or begin talking if she answered the phone.
Do you know
But
how
I
many?
know I'm sorry,
Well, how long were you in Puerto Rico for in April '94?
a month.
Okay. Do you know how many times you called Christian from there?
If I called, I don't know.
Well, combining Faye and Christian together, do you know how many times in the month of April you called that residence where Faye and Christian were at?
No.
Was it more than 5 times?
It would have been, I would think at least 5 times, and especially in one particular week, maybe at least 5 times.
Well, you think there was one particular week you called her at least 5 times in that week?
Yes.
What week was that?
My second week in Puerto Rico.
And is there any particular reason you remember those calls in that week?
Yes.
And what's that?
Because Nicole was saying she was having a nervous breakdown and she couldn't explain why. And I was trying to find out from her friends why, what was going on.
And do you recall what you discussed with Faye about that?
Just what was going on.
And what did Faye tell you?
In the beginning, she said nothing, that Nicole was so happy. She had spent a great weekend with me before we left, and that she was looking forward to coming to meet me in Miami. Then it went to Cora. Most of Faye was blaming Cora for, she was saying, Cora's driving us all crazy. Basically, you know, or I'll talk to Nicole, and I said, well, see what's happening, because I could tell if something's going on, something's wrong with Nicole. I mean, and she would say, I'll find out, or I'll call you back. I think she might have left me a message once or twice to call. And essentially, that was it.
Did you ever find out what, if anything in particular, was causing Nicole to have this nervous breakdown?
Nicole just said it was pressure. That's what when Nicole at one point called and apologized to me right before I came home, and wanted to pick me up at the airport. And after I got home, I wanted to, well, I forced the issue, and she never could explain it. She just said sometimes she just felt she was, you know, maybe this 30s thing was something that we had talked about from time to time, and she never could explain it. But she was aware that because she apologized to me about the way she was acting, and she could never, that's why I was trying to get her to go to therapy again, because she could never explain it.
What about Faye? Did she ever get back to you with an explanation?
Faye, as I said, continually blame Cora. Continually blame Cora.
In what sense?
That the problems Cora was having with her husband, and Cora was doing this, and Ron was calling, and Nicole was, you know, involved in whatever was going on with the two of them, trying to help Ron, trying to help Cora. And, you know, she was blaming everything on Cora.
Was it your understanding that certain things Cora was doing where it was causing Nicole a lot of anxiety?
I couldn't believe that. I mean, it didn't make sense to me.
OJ, listen to the question, answer the question,
Okay.
and no more than that.
Okay.
What hotel were you staying at in Puerto Rico, by the way?
I don't recall.
Do you recall what city it was in?
San Juan.
Do you recall what street or anything?
No.
Did anybody ever call you from... I'll strike that question. Now, you indicated you had made at least 5 calls to Faye during one particular week.
Could have been up to
5 to the house where Christian and Faye resided, or the place.
Yes.
Okay. In addition to those 5 phone calls, do you remember any additional calls being made to that house?
No. That's it. Yeah, around that amount of time, but I can't tell you. I don't know.
No, other than those 5 phone calls in that 1 week, do you remember calling there any other times?
It may not have been 1 week. It may have been over, you know, a little less than a week. But I just know that 1 week was very active, going back and forth, calling both ways.
Those are the only phone calls you recall to that house during your period in Puerto Rico?
You know, as I said, Christian and I were doing some stuff for the Playboy thing. He was having a thing made, and you know, I talked to him a few times. So, you know, there were, I don't know. I don't recall.
When you were in Puerto Rico, did you ever call Cora Fishman?
I called Ron Fishman a few times. I can't recall if I ever talked to Cora Fishman.
And you indicated that in the second week in April that Nicole was...
Was my second week down there. I don't know if it was the second week in April, but it was my second week in Puerto Rico.
Okay, and she was having something like a nervous breakdown. She indicated to you.
That's what she said.
Okay, and
But she was acting like it.
Okay, and Cora Fishman was her best friend at this time?
Yes.
And you made several phone calls to the Resnick Reichart residence.
Correct.
And you recalled no phone conversations with Cora?
No, I know I talked to Ron quite a bit because I was just trying to be a friend to him.
But Ron wasn't friends with Nicole, was she?
Yes.
Close friends?
Yes, but I wasn't talking to Ron about Nicole.
Okay, and you weren't talking to Cora about Nicole?
I don't think I talked to Cora during this period of time.
Okay. Okay. Prior to June 12th, 1994, at any time, did you ever call Cora Fishman to discuss Nicole?
Ever?
In the year 94, before June 12th?
I don't recall. I don't ever recall calling her to discuss Nicole in 94.
Okay. Did you ever call Cora to find out where she and Nicole might be at a particular time or particular place they might be going to?
No.
Did Cora ever call you from any location indicate to you that she and Nicole were at a certain place?
No.
With New Year's Day 1989, I think you indicated earlier the police didn't see fit to take Nicole to the hospital that morning when they came by.
Yes.
You've already asked him about this.
Did Nicole see fit to go to the hospital that morning?
It's already been gone into.
Not by me, Mr. Baker. I
Oh,
just
come
want to
on.
ask a couple of questions.
All right, go ahead.
Did Nicole see fit to go to the hospital?
No.
Well, did she go to the hospital?
I insisted, and AC took her.
She didn't want to go to the hospital.
No.
To the best of your knowledge, did she ever make a phone call to anybody before she went to the hospital that morning?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay. And did AC see fit to take her to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And you certainly did.
Pardon me?
You saw fit to have her go to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't know whether it was for a hangover or something?
She said she was looking for aspirin, and being an athlete, you know, whenever somebody have a headache after a game or something for whatever reason, you're very cautious about that. Just the way I've always been.
In any particular sport or just any sport when you have a headache?
Any sport, even with my kids. If my kids had an accident and, you know, we wouldn't let them sleep. We try to keep them awake if they said their head hurt in any way, shape, or form. It's just something that you do.
Because you're talking about a concussion type situation, are you not?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about contact incidences, are we not?
Yes.
Okay, and it was your concern about contact and concussions that caused you to be concerned about Nicole's headache, was it not?
The fact that she said she had a headache and we had a confrontation and she was talking about having a headache. So I wanted her to be looked at.
Okay. By the way, did you notice her having any difficulty speaking when she said she was looking for aspirin?
You know, it was very emotional. So, you know, Nicole, when she got emotional, didn't speak clearly. She just spoke emotionally. So she was very emotional when she was doing this.
Did she say anything about her jaw?
No.
I think you also indicated in April '94 when you were in Puerto Rico, you spoke to Judy Brown?
Yes. Yes.
Do you recall how many times?
During the week of when she was supposed to be coming to meet me in Miami, we must talk at least 2 or 3 times.
And were those calls you made to Judy?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recall the substance of those conversations?
The first call was, did Nicole get her reservations, did you get the reservations? And I can't recall if they went to Laguna that weekend or not. I'm not real sure, but the first call was about the reservations. The second time, she didn't, but Judy didn't want to bring it up. And
Bring what up? I'm sorry.
bring up to Nicole about making the reservations, because Nicole was supposed to make the reservations, or I was trying to bring business to Judy. So I could have made them from where I was, but was trying to get Judy to get some business, which I've done over the years. And as the week went on, there was a little concern about Nicole. Judy had the same concerns that I had.
What were those concerns?
That Nicole was somewhat erratic in the way she acted. And Judy mentioned how, I guess, Thursday or Friday when I spoke to her, how she was concerned that Nicole was putting words in her mouth from the previous conversation the day before that they had had. And it was kind of a concern to Judy.
Did Judy actually indicate to you she thought Nicole was acting erratic?
Yes.
Okay. I think you also indicated Judy was otherwise evasive about discussing Nicole?
No, Judy was evasive. It was a funny thing in the family that everybody was afraid to, as Judy said, she was afraid to confront Nicole. So it became a thing where everybody would talk about Nicole, but they were all afraid to confront her with whatever their concerns were.
Did Judy ever express to you what she thought or what her concerns were? What Judy's concerns were?
Overall?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was that?
She didn't like the people Nicole was hanging around.
And that was Judy's main concern with Nicole?
Yes.
And she
Yes.
told you that?
Yes, on numerous occasions.
Okay. Did you ever indicate to any of your friends or to anybody prior to Mother's Day 1994 that you were going to stop seeing Nicole again?
I think I was consistent in, that I thought it was a lot of work, and consistent in I didn't think it would work. But in
In terms
Puerto
of-
Rico, I was not with any friends. And when I came back from Puerto Rico, I spent that first week mostly with Nicole. So I really wasn't around, you know, what I would call friends that I confined in.
Well, when you say you were consistent with the fact that it wasn't going to work,
Until I went to Puerto Rico. And as I said, when I was in Puerto Rico, I didn't really talk to my friends.
okay. But when you say you were
He
consistent, was
said
it
consistent, it was a lot of work, I
It was
thought.
a lot of work.
Not that it wasn't
Yeah,
going to
that
work.
it was a lot of work. That this, you know, this getting back together thing was a lot of work.
okay? Did you ever express that to any of your close friends
Yeah.
during early '94?
Yes.
To whom?
I'm sure Alan Austin, I'm sure AC, I'm sure Arnell, Jason, Michelle, Kathy, Skip. No.
But you never expressed to them that you were actually going to break it off with Nicole
Well, I didn't
before
know
you
that.
did.
Well, when it happened, it happened. It wasn't like something that you went 3 weeks discussing or thinking about. We had a conversation, it happened.
Okay. I think you said generally you usually go to bed early. Is that correct?
Yes,
8:30.
generally, yes.
Okay. On June 10th, 1994, do you recall what time you got back to LA?
I'm a guess,
Okay.
7, 8 o'clock.
Okay. Did you go out at all with Paula then after she picked you up?
I can't remember when she picked me up, if we went directly and had sushi and then went to, I believe, my house, or if we ate at my house, or if Gigi wasn't there. We may have gone directly from the airport to have sushi.
Okay.
I didn't eat on the plane. I rarely eat on the plane.
And do you know what time you got home that night approximately?
Whatever time it took to eat sushi and then got home.
Was it before 10?
I would think so.
Okay. So it'd be safe to say you were up till at least 10 o'clock Friday night?
I can't say at least 10. Whatever time I got off the plane, I think I'd been out of town all week. We ate, and then we went home, got in bed.
Okay. And Saturday night you went to a formal
affair, yes.
Okay. Do you know what time you got home that night?
Oh, probably about 11.
Okay. And Sunday night you were
Yeah, I had to stay up to go to Chicago.
okay. In June of 1994, or before that, I think, you said you always went to bed early, but you'd get up during the night to make sure the kids were settled and
That's it.
everything?
Generally, I go to bed early.
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't have an affair to go to or something. Every night, including last night, I get up in the middle of the night and walk around my house. Every night.
Back then, and I'm talking about May, June 1994, what time would Justin usually go to bed?
We tried to put him to bed at 8:30.
That was Sydney too?
But that was the general time we tried. But, hopefully by 9 they'd be in bed.
Okay. When you gave your interview to Ms. von Susteren of Burden of Proof, was anybody with you in the room when you spoke to her?
No.
Okay. You also indicated at some point during this deposition that you were scheduled to go to Knott's Berry Farm with the kids sometime in June.
I was going to take him on Father's Day.
Okay. Was that indicated in your calendar?
I don't know.
Had you spoken to the kids about it?
Yes, Sydney asked me. She actually wanted to go the Sunday before. And I was taking them to another affair. And then the next Sunday I would have had them would have been the next Sunday. I mean, not this Sunday, because she had that, but the following Sunday.
Now, as of June 1994, okay. As of June 1994, or May 1994, you'd been a public figure for about 25 years.
Yes.
I believe you'd never had bought a goatee before that time, had you?
I've grown one, but I never bought one, no.
Okay.
I didn't realize there was a goatee in this bag either until you guys started saying it. I didn't realize there was a goatee in there.
What'd you think it was?
A beard.
Okay. And mustache?
A mustache and beard, yes.
Okay. You'd never bought something like that prior to late May of 1994, had you?
Yes, but not to go to Knott's Berry Farm, no.
When did you bought something like that for?
Maybe a Halloween or two. And then often when I'm on a set, in the past, I've taken one once or twice in my life and would wear home with Sydney and Arnell and Jason Moore and come in looking like another person, just to tease the kids.
Okay. But you never purchased something like that more in public, did you?
No.
Okay. And you hadn't played pro football in, what, about 15 years?
Yes.
Okay. And your Hertz Airport commercial where you're jumping over the suitcases running down the hall, that wasn't airing anymore, was it?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that wasn't what?
Airing anymore. In fact, do you know when that had gone off the air?
I don't think I ran through an airport for Hertz since the mid to late 70s.
Okay.
I've been in many Hertz commercials since then, though.
Okay, and I think you also indicated in June of '94 you weren't doing any actual broadcasting for NBC, were you?
Not in June. I had during the football season, but in June that month, no.
Okay. In fact, you hadn't since maybe January?
Yes.
After Super Bowl? Okay.
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that anybody under 14 had never even been born by the time you finished playing pro football?
If you can do the math.
Yes.
I know, Mr. Baker.
Yeah.
Good. Don't ask him, don't waste our time asking those kind of stupid questions. I'm trying to give you a soundbite.
I think you've been good at the sound bites, Mr. Baker. I could use stupid in other contexts, but I won't take
All
the
right, well, I'll
bait.
take it back
Okay,
then.
okay.
It doesn't rise to the level of your wonderful compliment, Mr. Howard.
Your,
You have to step it up.
your uncharacteristic patience is not lending itself well to this.
Can't tell you how slighted I've been feeling.
Not to worry. I'm an equal opportunity.
Insulter. With the letter you eventually had hand-delivered to Nicole on June 6, 1994, can you tell me when you first drafted that letter that was ultimately delivered?
If you drafted it.
I probably told Kathy to write something whenever she called me and whenever Gigi told me about the problem, I'm sure I worded it to Skip, or I went to Skip and to Kathy about that time. And so whenever that was in May.
Okay. Was that after the time Nicole had given you the bracelet back?
I don't recall. I don't know if that was after that had happened. It might have been, but I don't know.
I think you also indicated that in '94 there were times Nicole indicated to you that she was depressed.
Depressed in '94? I mean, when I was in Puerto Rico, she said a lot of things, and she couldn't explain it. Earlier in '94, I don't know depressed was a word she used in earlier '94.
Did you ever see her depressed?
I saw, I'm not capable of saying what depression or frustration, what does what. I just know that during '94, I know a few occasions she was despondent for whatever reasons. And there were numerous reasons.
Okay. Have you ever seen someone grieving? Do you know what I mean by that?
Doing what?
Grieving.
Grieving?
Grieving. Like from the loss of someone or something?
I've seen a lot of grieving in the last 2 years, yes.
Okay. And you understand basically what I mean by that word?
Yes.
Okay.